I think we should start now. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate that you are attending our first webinar with Looker. It's going to be a great one because it's actually focused on Africa and Middle East. So probably it's exactly what you are thinking. How the dynamics work in Africa and Middle East is pretty much different than the rest of the world. However, we have a good opportunity here because we have a very good value proposition that we can offer during the community. The attendees are quite diversified, so expect to have a general discussion, but you are more than welcome just to ask your questions up there. You can find a Q&A button. You can press it at any given point of time, ask your question, and during the between the presentations between each and every single individual, we will answer a couple of them, and at the end, we'll try to entertain all the questions. So let's start. Again, welcome and thank you very much. Let me introduce our panelists today. Myself, Ahmed Rifai, I'm the managing partner of Pegasus Operational Excellence. And hopefully today we will see how Pegasus and Looker together will enable companies in Africa and Middle East. Also, we have Fernando Leon, he's the emerging markets head of Looker, and definitely he will have lots of use cases and success stories and also how to translate data into action. Also, we have Kairan Doyle, and he will take us through a demo through Looker, and it's going to be very good because actually he will try to show how the user will have the experience, how actually also the analyst will be able to do the job, and it will show a lot of stuff today. So let's start. We'll have like a quick facts to trigger our discussion and to show why we are building in the case this way. Basically, this is an intelligence unit from The Economist. They sent an article almost like a couple of years ago, but it shows that the bottom line improvements are always needed, and it's representing like 77% of what people might think to help them bridge any gaps or actually increase their margins. This have been highly seen, and as you can see here, it shows that 85% of the responses cited process improvement as a key issue in their business. This is key fact number one. Number two is actually what is happening in the digital generation and data generation in general. As you can see that lots of the work that we are looking right now is enterprise data. However, we are adding lots of voice over IP, social media, and sensors and devices regarding the IoT and so on. So basically, if you must right now start your journey, it's right now. As you can see, things are pretty much exponentially increasing, and actually the data itself will increase between 40 to 45% compounded until 2020, which is very soon. This have been said by Reuters and Oracle, and as you can see right now, our data here, it's almost like having 57 billion 32 gigabyte iPad. This is where we stand right now. So the amount of data is quite big, and we need to start our journey to use this data correctly to build in the momentum and actually bring better margins as per the last slide. Also, the Business Insider showed that the amount of dynamics and amount of users going into the platforms, you name it, from services one, from gaming one, from even whatever product you are looking at, is becoming much faster. We have seen that Angry Birds reached 50 million users in just 35 days, and we know definitely about the Pokemon game and how much it was started up in very fast. So probably being fast is probably one of the most important things. Returning back all of this and translating it into money, only on Apple and App Store, people have generated over 86 billion US dollars since it started in 2008. And this is quite a huge figure. This is just on applications regarding, you name it, whatever you are buying from the App Store, it's a lot. So basically, what we are looking at is if you are having a product, if you are definitely managing your external and internal process, defining your right KPI and performance parameters, being proactively dynamic to changes, using the data correctly, definitely you will realize money. And this goes for two parties, which is basically the consultants and also the customer. The biggest part will be realized by the customer because basically it's an iteration. It adds on, adds on, adds on. So that's why probably why we founded Pegasus. Pegasus operational excellence is basically looking into helping all of these factors, the five factors that we are looking for. But just let me ask you a very quick question, and I'm just opening the poll here. Basically, do you happen to know the name Pegasus? What does it stand for, and so on? Just give you 30 seconds to answer this. You can find the poll coming up. And ending now. Okay, perfect. So probably we have a tie, 50%, but let me answer you on this. Basically, Pegasus is a flying horse. It has been there almost like 700 BCs. It's a mythological origin, so it's from Greece, and it always supports heroes. We have seen lots of movies where Pegasus exists, and there are lots of clues about Pegasus. However, our Pegasus is a little bit different. It definitely provides full implementation, sustained operational excellence solution in different fields. We started 2016 in Egypt, but we have been working in Middle East for quite some time. And basically, our origin is experienced business leaders in different backgrounds, and you will see the main focus on some of the team very soon in the presentation. However, we still do support the heroes of today, like the old Pegasus, and you are the heroes of today. What we are doing is actually consultation, implementation, organizational excellence, and operational excellence, digitization, integration, and big data analytics and visualization, which is supported now by Looker. And there are some other platforms that we have. Today is a focus on Looker and performance and process optimization and cost saving solutions. As you can see, it's no longer business as usual. Every day there are lots of changes. If you want to adapt, it will be quite hard and definitely it will not help. But if you're prepared to succeed from the beginning and capture this as early as possible, definitely will do a great job than your competition. Our services runs across turnkey projects, expert opinion and support, being your extended team, full consultation, implementation, and data analytics and reporting full scope. And it's a full-fledged, and you can see that in quite some time. Basically, we always say if you don't measure, you cannot manage, you cannot control, definitely you cannot improve, and definitely are losing money. And this is the main theme that everybody is looking. We don't want to lose money. We always want to be in control. We always want to improve on a day-to-day basis. Peter Songard, the senior VP from Gartner, said the information is older than the 21st century and analytics is a combustion engine. And this was said 2011, so we are already 2018. So you can imagine that the momentum now has been there. Lots of companies have been using analytics, and definitely it's part of integrated part of lots of people. Also, Virginia Rometty, IBM CEO, thinks that data is the next natural resource, and we are already using that. This was the latest Harvard Business Review that shows that more than 1,000 executives are using big data in their companies, and you can see that there are lots of things. So, almost like 50% decrease their expenses, and there are lots of other things that have been done. You can check this out on the Harvard Business Review and also on New Vantage company for the full report. But as you can see, now it's an integrated part. Everybody is using it. You can always add revenues. There are lots of new products that you can check, and you can get the customer feedback instantaneously right now with that. We are very happy to be partnering with Looker. And this is a great news because we have lots of services bundling together and lots of special pricing just for the emerging market. Looker have been the fastest implementation awarded by G2 Crowd during spring 2017. and also it's available in Gartner and Forrester. And actually, I think in Forrester, Looker is one of the most high strategically enabled companies, and also will definitely add more value to them. These are the partners for at Pegasus, and as you can see, we have a quite diverse backgrounds and working with different fields. Plus, we have also more than 25 other professionals available with us to support you. How Pegasus operational excellence can enable you? We basically follow different methodologies, but the basic one is having the Six Sigma methodology. As you can see, we build in the process itself, adding it with the KPIs and making them meshing together, all of them, and using the analytics and the analysis and the control and sustain part just to make sure that we are doing the right full-fledged scope. Combining it with the standards and systems and benchmarks, it definitely leads out lots of good stuff, and actually it makes your success very measurable. You will know that whenever a KPI changes, how impacting this in your margins or other KPIs that you have. So basically, I'll leave it now to Looker team. I'll leave it to Fernando just to take you through the presentation. Thank you very much for attending, and I'll leave it now to Fernando.
Great, thank you, Ahmed. Just going to share my screen and begin the presentation. Fantastic introduction. Thanks again. We're very pleased to be here and excited at the opportunity we have to work with Pegasus in the emerging markets this year. The focus of my presentation is going to be a little bit more on Looker itself. We are sort of uniquely positioned in the era of big data to be more than just a visualization tool, but really be a tool that enables your organization to operationalize data and make it more valuable as you're able to take more action and process more. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history, just go back to sort of why our founder built the tool the way he did and how we're able to sort of uniquely attack big data sets. The problems that he set out to solve, he was a data analyst in the 80s and 90s and recognized very quickly that there are two general problems that every analyst team faces. Number one is the data bottleneck problem. This is just sort of in a typical organization. You're going to have a small team of people that have the skills to analyze data, and then you have a large amount of department heads that want access to the team and to the reports that they can build for them. And so you end up in a situation where there's much more demand on their time than they have hours in the day, and you come into this bottleneck of skills. The end result of this typically is that people just sort of skip over the step of reading reports and ultimately don't use data to make their decisions. And there are all kinds of risks that can be found in that situation. The second problem that we set out to solve is this idea of data chaos. And this is a relatively newer idea, but imagine if the department heads have access to the data itself and they have tools on their local hardware where they can build reports and analyze the data to a certain extent on their own. The challenge in this environment is that there's no common measurement, no common definition of the KPIs or reports. So people end up going to meetings with various different stories based on the same data set, different conclusions drawn from the same data, as everyone's measuring things differently. So again, just going back in history as to why we built the tool specifically the way we did, is because our founder, Lloyd Tabb, identified that this workflow was extremely common and he wanted to build a tool to overcome it, and actually built it at several companies before building Looker itself. Generally, there are workbook analytics, as I mentioned. As people sort of mature in sophistication, there will be in-app reporting. You've got CRM reports, you've got marketing automation reports, you've got some web analytics reports. And if you've got a good analyst, you'll be able to automate some of that. So the reports are delivered out to people for the weekly meeting. The challenge is when department heads have questions about why things happen rather than just what happened. Inevitably, you have to go back to the analyst team, and so you still end up in a situation where you have a data bottleneck, ultimately. This is just the way things worked, because historically, databases have been expensive and relatively inefficient at sort of doing analysis. But this all changed in 2010 2011, as sort of modern MPP databases built by Amazon and Google and companies of that size. They became very accessible and much less expensive to maintain. In this new environment, we've built a tool that delivers this type of workflow to our customers. Rather than having to go back to the analyst world, we truly deliver self-service exploration to non-technical members of your team. And even taking a step further, there's a lot of automation that we can set up in Looker to operationalize those analytics and really deliver them to wherever they need to be in your org. So just a quick overview of Looker. We are relatively young in the BI analytics space. We were founded in 2012, but as Ahmed mentioned, we have grown extremely quickly. We currently have over 1,500 customers globally, and we have offices globally as well. We're speaking to you from Dublin right now. We also have offices in London, throughout North America, and our global headquarters is in Santa Cruz, California. You'll notice that we are backed by some of the best known names in Silicon Valley. We have very tight relationships, technical partnerships with Amazon, Google, Microsoft. We're poised to really catch on fire and expand at an extremely rapid rate here. So I'm going to go through some customer stories. As you can see from this slide, we find pretty compelling use cases in a variety of industries. These are sort of our 5 biggest verticals. Bottom line, however, is that if you collect massive amounts of data, if you want to be able to take action on your data rather than just collect it, we can help you out. One of our best known customers in Europe is Deliveroo. Deliveroo is a service that sort of connects local restaurants to users and offers extremely quick, hyper-local home delivery. They need to be a data-driven organization. Their app is essentially their pathway to revenue. And they had set up some infrastructure to be able to action this data before. However, as their team grew, the hardware itself actually started falling over as unpredictable strain was placed on it. They see a lot of variance in user behavior based on things like weather conditions, sporting events. There's all kinds of sort of unpredictable things that play into their usage. And as they had a tool that wasn't positioned to really take advantage of big data, they put too much strain on their data warehouse, and it would fall over at extremely inopportune moments. With Looker, we've been able to really streamline how they access that data. It's a much more reliable way to manage their big data. And then additionally, they have a situation where they're able to self-serve. So there are no analysts putting huge strains on their data warehouse. Instead, there's business users that are asking questions of the data and taking action as they need to. The next story I wanted to run through is Yahoo. Yahoo's a pretty well-known name in the technology industry. They've been using Looker for several years. The way we helped them is that they have a team of 1,000 people that manage their mobile app. And they were just unable to use data to make decisions. As you can imagine, especially on the mobile app team, it's extremely important to be able to action data points. They sort of had a classic data bottleneck situation where app producers and engineers were unable to access the reports that they needed in real time in order to optimize, fix, improve the app as they wanted to. So with Looker, all 1,000 team members log in. All 1,000 team members have access to real-time data, and it's user-friendly enough for them to be able to really ask any question and take action as they need to. And the last customer story I wanted to touch on is HubSpot. They're a pretty well-known marketing automation B2B SaaS company. HubSpot is sort of near and dear to my heart. Before working at Looker, I worked at HubSpot as an account executive. And part of the reason that I decided to jump on board with Looker is the experience I had at HubSpot, using it for reporting. As a global sales team, there are approximately 1,000 reps. And there are a whole bunch of ways to purchase HubSpot, which causes, as you can imagine, some complications as you're trying to monitor your performance as a sales rep. I would have to go to Salesforce and look at a report there. There was an online system that I would have to go to, and really it was just a painful process to see what my attainment looked like on a regular basis. When they purchased Looker, it was extremely simple to log in. They would pull the data from every possible data source into one simple view, where I could see how I was tracking for that month, for that quarter, for that year, and really trust the data, which is a challenge with a lot of other reporting tools. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the solution itself, and then we'll transition into Kieran's demonstration. As I mentioned before, we don't really want to be just a visualization tool. We want to be a data platform that enables your team to take action. So while we do offer full dashboards and visualization capabilities, the more important aspect and what I want to sort of ingrain after this presentation is that beyond the dashboards, we're enabling you to really use data in your org. We want your business users, your non-technical people to be able to explore and ask any ad hoc question of the data. We don't want them restrained to a specific data set, or really restrained to a specific report, but we want them to be able to explore as they see fit. And then Kieran's going to touch on this a lot in the demonstration, but really sharing data throughout the organization is what is important. As one person does their analysis, there may be 3 or 4 people that need to be made aware of some question that they've been able to answer. So we want to show you how easy it is to do that. From an analyst perspective, there are 3 sort of key benefits to Looker, and these are the 3 core pillars of our platform and our solution. We're the only big data solution on the market, and we're able to do that because we don't actually ingest, we don't move your data at all. We want you to have ownership of your data warehouse. This sort of serves 2 purposes. Number 1 is that the performance of databases is improving at such a rapid rate that I think our founder decided it was important for you to be able to upgrade at any time from a hardware perspective. We don't want to compete with Amazon, Google, and Microsoft on a hardware side. We want to take advantage of all the resources that they're putting into building out their infrastructure as a service offerings. The second benefit of us not moving your data is that we can manage data at scale. We're not putting it in a black box. We're not moving it anywhere. It allows our solution to be extremely lightweight. The way that we're then able to access your data and display it to non-technical people is by using a data modeling layer powered by LookML. LookML is very similar to SQL. It's an abstraction of SQL, and fundamentally what it allows is for your data team to set up sort of a rigid set of KPIs, definitions. They record all of the relationships between the data in your database. And they record that in LookML so that all of the queries that you would want to run are able to be run in a very repeatable way and in a very scalable way. We're going to get more granular on LookML and the data modeling layer in a moment. The final benefit is that compared to our competitors in this space, we're extremely new. So we have all these benefits of being born in the modern era of SaaS software. Fully browser-based application, the GUI renders to any device size. We're able to show reports, dashboards, looks on mobile phones, on tablets, PCs without any problems at all. It's extremely easy to embed Looker into other applications. Internally, we use Looker within Salesforce on a regular basis. And then we've got a full RESTful API and can integrate with third-party applications to do things and sort of trigger events very programmatically based on the data. And I'd like to go through an architecture slide of sort of a standard Looker deployment. This is the way we set up, some of our startup companies in San Francisco and London that we work with, all the way up to our massive data customers like Snapchat and Uber. The first step to a performant Looker deployment is to centralize data from all of your apps, your transactional databases, any of your marketing data, sales data, put it into any SQL dialect database. We work with 36 or 38 dialects of SQL at this time. We take responsibility for making sure that we can speak any of those languages so that you don't have to worry about it going forward. Then the next step is to build out that LookML-powered data modeling layer. And this really is the sort of unique selling point of Looker, especially when compared to some of the older BI tools out there. This is a code-based data model. And really, it's just where we set up your dictionary of KPIs, where we define the relationship between all of your data objects. And it's going to allow your business users through a web interface in a self-service exploration layer or in a visualization dashboard layer to interact with that data. And as they navigate through your user interface, Looker is using LookML to write performant SQL queries and send them to your data warehouse and return them in real time. We can export data from Looker. As I mentioned, there are a whole bunch of ways to share information from Looker. Embedding in third-party applications is simple. And with our RESTful API, I mentioned already that we can do a lot of things programmatically. And finally, I just wanted to touch on the fact that along with our consulting partners like Pegasus, we do have a full professional services team. We're here to partner with you, not just to sell software. So you can really select any level of support that you're looking for, from our quick jumpstart program where we get you set up in 6 weeks, to a rapid deployment program where we can set you up even quicker as you get more resources from Looker. And we've got ongoing consulting available if you'd like someone to work with you sort of for the long term. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Kieran Doyle, for a live product demonstration.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Fernando. Awesome. So yeah, it's great to see such a good attendance for this webinar. Thanks so much for everyone for joining. I guess usually how we generally run these sessions is we have a sort of one-to-one session and kind of drill into the pains and tailor this demo. Obviously, we've got a lot of people from different backgrounds and different industries, from software engineers to customer success managers, CEOs, and on the call. So I guess we'll probably just sort of go through a very business user friendly example of how someone could typically use Looker on their day-to-day job. So with that being said, I'll actually just start from my email inbox, as most of us do at the start of our day. And this is genuinely something that I use myself, that I've seen a lot of customers using, coming to an email that's been arrived from Looker in the morning to see, things that have gone on in that day. So if you imagine, maybe I'm a sort of distribution manager for an e-commerce an e-commerce sort of company selling clothing, and I've come into my inbox saying that, good morning, Kieran. Looks like there are a few orders in Chicago that are stuck in processing, and it's come from the data guys, I guess. So I can kind of see, okay, this come straight from Looker. We got an image after emailing out to me and being backed by data. Got days in process for particular orders that just look a little bit heavy. So I can kind of jump straight into the Looker platform from here and sort of start to drill into that data and see what's going on within the business. So we're on that browser-based application, like Fernando said. Now we're just looking at that particular report that was emailed out to my inbox this morning. I'm kind of a bit concerned, I guess. I've got 9 days in process for a particular order, and got Alicia has ordered a pair of jeans or whatever it might be, pertaining to your business, and that's looking like it's being held up. So I can kind of go and from here take immediate action. I can kind of drill into this data and find out maybe a little bit more about that particular customer. I can go to a customer lookup dashboard to see, is this a very valued customer? Is it a new customer? I can see Alicia had her first order in January of this year. She's only made 3 orders this year, but I guess, we're only in April. Total lifetime spend is $71. And her previous orders have actually gone through relatively quickly. So she might be a little bit worried as to why this particular order is taking a while. So I'm obviously concerned as a manager, and operations manager, don't want to have a risk of a churn. I can email that particular customer from the platform itself, maybe send out a promotional code to Alicia so that she is kind of going to return to our service. We also have multiple different integrations within Looker as well. So, I don't want to handle all of these customers myself. I might want to send out a Slack message. If anyone on the call is using Slack internally, or whatever messaging app you have, you can integrate with that and maybe get another part of the team, maybe Sev or someone from the customer support channel, just to handle the rest of these orders. Cool. And now, I guess because these orders have kind of taken so long, I don't want to have to sort of be notified by the data team every single day what's going on here. I kind of actually just want to be notified, keep an eye on the processing times for the next couple of days. So I can go straight and just have a schedule sent out, an automated email similar to the one that we just saw in my inbox, just to send to me maybe every morning when I come in on specific days of the week or just on weekdays. Have it go out in different time zones into maybe a particular group, and have it sent in multiple different formats. So we just saw an example of inline visualization. I could have that as a CSV attachment or a text attachment. And even actually, I because these particular orders have been taken care of for today, I don't really want to see them again. So I only want to receive new results. I want to see kind of, okay, is there any orders that are taking too long tomorrow or the following days? So have that kind of set up on an alerting basis. I can even then go and maybe, okay, I'm the distribution manager for Chicago. I want to actually set this report to go out to all distribution managers and for it to run to only show the data that's pertaining to their area. So maybe, someone in Ireland, for example, only gets orders that have been dispatched from Ireland. Someone in California only gets Californian-based orders. There's a lot you can do in terms of taking action on the data itself. So once I've taken care of that, I can go back to my normal morning routine, I guess. I can come straight into the homepage for Looker. We get a rake of different dashboards that I've saved that I regularly use, and different dashboards that are suggested by me. Maybe my colleagues are using these particular dashboards a lot. I'm just going to look at Business Pulse dashboard and see how my business is going today. So here I'll just take a step back and kind of talk a little bit more to sort of what Looker does here, what we're really trying to do with data in comparison to some of our competitors. So like Fernando said, we're a completely browser-based application, accessible anywhere in the world. You just need an internet connection and your Looker login details, all built in HTML5. So we're completely web responsive. If you're looking at a mobile on a tablet, anything like that, everything will resize and reshape to fit those different devices. That also makes us super easy to embed within other applications, like Fernando said, or even into customer-facing portals, which is a very, very common use case for a lot of our customers. All of the visualizations for any of the technical people in the room, they're JavaScript D3, and we're also moving to high charts this year, so there should be some really interesting updates in terms of Viz, which we're all actually very excited about. But out of the box, you do get a wide variety of visualizations, everything that you really should be expecting from a modern BI solution these days. Everything's kind of hoverable and interactable, and of course, filterable. I guess one thing to note at this point, though, is with our architecture sort of just sitting there on top of your database, that allows us to really drill in and get to real-time results. So, I can have this returning data as soon as it's available to me in my database. I'm not having to wait for, an extraction of the data to do analytics on it from there. So we can really get real-time results from Looker itself. And then, of course, in terms of interacting even further, we can drill in. We can kind of maybe look at orders by day, by category. I can go into a particular day where there's been a spike into the hours of that day, and bring me to a different type of visualization. I can then go to individual row level detail. So I can kind of really drill down as much as I possibly want to. I can then link out to a variety of different places. I can go to maybe the Levi's website in this case and dynamically, or I can kind of go off to a brand specific dashboard or to Facebook, or drill even further. So we'll go into the brand specific dashboard in this case, see how Levi's as a brand is actually doing for us as an e-commerce site. So 2,883 customers, average order value, and loads of other different types of analysis going on here for a particular brand. From there as well, I can download these results. I can take them, into Excel or CSV, multiple different formats, and I can just open them in the browser and kind of explore further into detail what's going on. So that's all sort of like very well and good and probably fairly familiar in terms of any that are used to using kind of current dashboarding tools. A Looker, I think what we really aim to do is enable business users not to be restricted by, you know, what an analyst has created for them on the front end. You know, not only have the dashboards that are made for them and the drill paths that are defined, but be able to sort of click into any of these tiles and edit charts and visualizations as much as they please. So I can click into this maybe total spend by cohort and kind of edit that visualization as much as I want. And kind of, you know, then save that to my own personal space or anything like that. So this is within our self-service layer now at the moment. And I'll kind of just explain what's going on here. So essentially within Looker, you know, our analyst has gone and created this visualization. They've picked different fields and dimensions and measures from this field picker on the left to create it. But now what we want to do is try and enable business users to also have those options, also be able to come in here and make changes and sort of pick what they want, as opposed to it only being available for the analyst team. So the analysts are kind of getting all of their knowledge into the system. They're saying, okay, we've got all of these different tables in our database. We've got distribution centers and inventory items and order items, and kind of, you know, right down to the user information. They've just gone and told Looker at a high level how all of these different tables interact with each other. So, you know, like how does distribution centers actually inevitably join onto inventory items? What is the different business logic that is inherent in those tables as well? So how do I calculate total gross margin, or how do I calculate stock coverage ratio? Maybe I want to give a tooltip to the business users as to how that calculation was done as well. You know, having repeat purchase rate or something like that. So you're really opening it up to the business users to allow them to really dive into this data and explore things for themselves, and not having to rely on that data team to produce results for them. So I can go ahead and I can just change this viz as much as I want. I'm looking at, you know, months since sign up and kind of how we're doing with that on total sales price. Based on when people have joined, I can kind of edit the visualization. I can add maybe some formatting. I can kind of add a couple of different things in here to get something maybe a little bit different in this case. So I couldn't really tell much from the previous one. I wanted to see, okay, since May last year, you know, we started off pretty low, pretty dark red here in terms of how we were doing, and we thankfully improved a lot. But also, you know, as the months have gone on since then, we're now into kind of March of this year, you know, our total sales price in that very first month of sign up is a lot better. You know, and we kind of really see how we progress as a business. Now, obviously, it would be a pain if I had to come in here and recreate these visualizations every single time. So I can kind of go and save those as an individual visualization on its own. I can put them onto my own personal dashboard. Again, I can download the data. I can set it up as an email alert or a trigger. You know, I can maybe say, okay, as soon as a sale goes in above a certain threshold, have that email me immediately. I can just ping over the URL to a colleague, and they'll be brought directly to this screen I'm looking at. I'll just save it onto a dashboard for now. So then I'll just say a new tile. I'm going to put it in my own personal folder, or I can put it in a company shared folder. Just put it in a personal folder and create a new dashboard. So I can now come back to this report anytime I want. I've got it saved. I'm not sort of having to go and get, you know, the analyst team to create something new for me, or to add something to an existing dashboard. I can create my own dashboards. I can have my own reports set up, which is super powerful. And then draw back down into those. From there as well, I mean, it's really, really key for us, and Fernando's brought it up a lot, is that kind of governance layer, and self-service is very much becoming a little bit of a buzzword within the BI space at the moment. And that's because, you know, people are becoming a little bit more data savvy, data curious, and you know, ultimately the people that are making decisions really need to get to that data fast. And there is one problem with that, I guess, is that, you know, when you do have any of these different measures and metrics, you want to be sure that the way they're being calculated is defined properly. So say maybe if I come in here and take total gross margin, you know, I want to know that no matter what way I slice and dice that data, you know, that it's going to be correct. I'm not going to get any sort of mistakes. And that's really what Looker delivers for the analyst team. They have this complete layer of governance where, I can trust that, when a new kind of business user comes in and they maybe want to take gross margin and filter it on the last kind of couple of days maybe. So I'll take maybe a filter on the last 90 days of data and break it down by the hour of the day, that, when they run that report, total gross margin is going to be calculated correctly. When they kind of go to a user table and they maybe pivot it in the same way that you would in Excel by gender, that pivot is going to work appropriately as well. And that's really the power of Looker. Everything that is defined within the Looker modeling layer is defined in one solitary place, and that really is the only place it can be defined ever. So we can kind of make new reports. I can trust that they're correct. And again, I can save them to sort of those dashboards that I want to keep. So I'll put that onto that new dashboard that I've already created. Cool. And then you can just edit those dashboards as much as you want. So generally, we would jump into that particular modeling layer at this point. I think obviously we're a little bit short on time. So I think kind of just generally, hopefully it's come across the way that we would typically use data, and how that governed layer hopefully speaks to some of the technical people on the call that, as opposed to rewriting SQL over and over again to define different metrics, and kind of have them repeated across different dashboards and different reports. We do define them in a solitary place. This will serve as your data dictionary for your business. And, if you ever have to go in and make a change to any of these calculations, so make a change to total gross margin, we have a fully GitHub integrated environment in the back end. So, it's industry standard version control. You can go and test out any changes, and it won't affect any of those reports, any of those new dashboards that have been created by our business users, until you're happy that the changes are accurate. You can then push out those changes, and they're not just affected, they're not just kind of take effect on those high-level dashboards that we were looking at the start. They'll be kind of rolled out for every single scheduled email report, every single new dashboard or report that's been created by our business users, or even our customers in a lot of cases. So if we want to enable our customers to have analytics and create their own reports, you have total control over that kind of workflow. And then I suppose the one last thing I'll kind of just cover today as well is, we do completely integrate with a lot of different applications, Slack being one of them. We find that as people become a little bit more data savvy and a bit more curious about the data, we can kind of go in and sort of ask Slack directly from the tool, maybe generating an e-commerce funnel and kind of get results straight back from the application itself. We've also seen, that data actions being used in really interesting ways, for example, within sort of AdWords campaigns. So as opposed to, you trying to figure out, is a Google AdWords campaign working appropriately, or is it efficient? Actually make those decisions driven on data, go straight to an AdWords campaign, from the platform itself. Turn off an AdWords campaign from the platform itself. So lots and lots of different options there in terms of what you can do on a strategic actions kind of front with Looker itself. Cool. So with that, I think I'll hand back to Ahmed, for any closing remarks and take any questions.
Before that, we actually had one question from the audience while you were speaking, Kieran, and it was a question about deployment. So maybe we can talk through that a little bit.
Of course, yeah.
Sure. So typically, a Looker deployment really begins in a proof of concept. And this is something that we offer for free before you make any purchase decisions. And we actually put a lot of resources into our proof of concept. You'll work directly, or one of your analysts would work directly with Kieran and I. We'll sort of project manage, aiming to hit technical milestones during a 3-week engagement. And during that 3-week engagement, we find that our prospects and customers are very comfortable by the end, making a decision as to whether or not Looker is the right technical fit for them. By the end of 3 weeks, you'll generally have about 40% of your data model built. Again, our goal is not really to build a static data model. It's more to transfer the knowledge to your analyst team so that they can iterate and build that model over time as your business requirements evolve, as they naturally will. Post proof of concept, post purchase, we have, as I mentioned before, varying levels of service, but most often you're fully up and running within 6 to 8 weeks. And if you count all of that together, we're talking about, 10 to 11 weeks between beginning of the engagement and full working deployment, especially if you've got experience with some of the larger BI tools. I think we'll all agree that it's pretty phenomenal time to value. Ahmed, were there any other questions from your end?
Actually, there is one, which is basically was asked earlier on, which is basically there was written standards and benchmark. The question is from Huzaifa. So basically, what we mean by standards and benchmark is there are lots of different standards. Yes, we do use the Six Sigma methodology just for us to work. However, we definitely implement the ISO, the TPM, the EFQM, TQM, these stuff, and it depends on the industry, it depends on the usages, and what is actually the question or the business need that you're looking forward to. So it's the combination of all the knowledge. And as you can see, we have different backgrounds from different people. And actually, we use that to make it work with that. So we build on the momentum and we build the business case. By using Looker, and actually this is a very good thing, is actually based on what Fernando has been saying, we can actually have a trial period. We do all the process mapping, we do all the gap analysis, we even implement the solution, and we build in your data analytics platform. You can then generate the before and after, and taking it from there, you can build the ROI, and you can see actually how this helps. So actually, you will deliver money before even paying, because we have tested the platform for some time, we have seen the consultation, and things move forward. This is a question. Also, there's another question here. It's by an anonymous, so thank you for it, which is basically, are consulting firms considered sort of a direct competition to you? We don't consider it a competition. It's a healthy competition. Everybody have their own value proposition, and actually we are working all just to deliver value. So definitely at a given point of time, yes, we do that. However, the good thing about us is we don't just leave you with that. We will put you for the sustained and controlled phase through using data analytics. We also have the layer of softwares, including Looker, just to enable you further. So even after we leave and after we implement the solution, with disregard what kind of the solution, you can see the progress, you can get the data trends, you can see the analysis, you can actually enable your own team internally to use the data quite well. So it is a mixture between a competition and actually we are quite having a different value proposition for that. But thank you for the question. I think these are all the questions that we have for the time being. And please stay tuned because we are going to have very soon a face-to-face meeting in Cairo, Egypt, and hopefully something also planned for the Middle East. We will not announce it now, but basically the registration starts on the Pegasus website, starting 15th of April. So stay tuned, please check it out, and that's it. We really appreciate and value very much your attendance, and thank you very much for being there. We hope that this presentation sheds some light on our value proposition and how Looker is willing to take the extra mile for the Middle East and Africa, and companies operating there. Contact us directly through the Pegasus website and Looker just to get more information and actually to start make a case for your business or your customers. Thank you very much. Please feel free to contact us at any given point of time, and talk to you soon. Hopefully the webinar will be uploaded on our Facebook page and we'll send you a link for that. Thank you again, and goodbye.